Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we are here today to discuss chapters 8 through 11 of the Great Ordeal. It's my first time reading this second Apocalypse series. Shit. It's my first time reading the Aspect Emperor series. I'm sorry. Jeez. And we're here today with Daniel and Katerina. It's early. I'm having my coffee. So, Daniel, will you kick us off with some introductions and save me from this terrible introduction?
This is also your first time reading the Aspect Emperor series. It's your first time reading it all, so you're
Yeah.
you're fine. You
Okay,
said
good.
it exactly right.
Thank
And
you.
it is not my first time reading it. I'm Daniel, and I'm just trying to help these guys answer some of the million questions they're gonna have. Answer a few of the million questions they're gonna have.
And you're not been very helpful. You've been mostly very mysterious, which is good, I guess. I wouldn't want anyone to spoil anything for me. So actually, I appreciate it. You not being very helpful is appreciated.
I've just been
That
adding
was,
questions, just
Yeah.
throwing more questions into the pile.
yeah. I think I'm with you with the terrible introduction, Steve. I did not mean to. I did not mean to actually insult you.
Oh, that's
Um,
fine.
it was meant to be a compliment. But yeah, anyway, I'm Katerina. Well, this is my first time reading the second half of the second apocalypse.
I think
I
we're
think
all a
I got that
little,
right. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Good.
think we're all a little strange today, but that's okay. We'll roll with it. Doesn't matter. So chapters 8 through 11. I didn't have a whole lot of notes on this one. I had a few, but I do have some questions on chapter 9. So when we get there, I'll need some. I think I some things went over my head. I think I missed something. But for chapter 8, what did you both think?
I think chapter 8 and like all the chapters we read this week, I felt like, I guess similar to you, that not much happened. Like we did get some of history. We get some a little more background for the characters, but in terms of like events, it was very sporadic. And I also there were definitely some parts where I'm still unsure what exactly happened or what exactly was happening when the chapter ended.
I'm not alone then. Okay, good.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
I'm with you.
What did you think, Daniel, in your reread?
I guess we'll get there. I thought that the first two chapters had a lot in it, but you're right, not a lot happened. I guess in the third chapter, the Kellis portion, the most action happened. They at least flew over and got to see the thousand enemies.
There's lots of thousands of enemies in and especially like the aspect emperors. There's like thousands of Shrank, and there's lots of armies, lots of large, like big scale, epic armies. So it's kind of starting to lose its. It's like it's dramatic. It's not as dramatic anymore when you. It happens all the time. I'm not complaining about it. It just seems like there's lots of large armies pretty often.
Or just the one army.
There's lots of Shrank. We
That
had thousands of Shrank for the first half of the series.
Now we have millions, though.
Yeah.
A thousand thousands. That's
well, that's a million, I guess. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I had to do the multiplication in my head.
that's all they can see.
Like a carpet of Shrank.
So before it was little skirmishes, and then it's also moved to like a banquet. Now they're not even like scared or chasing anyone. They're just trying to hunt their food. It's
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. There's a line in one of the I forget what chapter it was, but One thing that I did really enjoy, the one thing that stood out to me, I think it was chapter 8, was seeing the perspective of the survivor and the like what they went through and kind of how they came to find um, Kamian and Mimira, and he sent the how he got to the point where he sent the boy to them. I thought that was really neat to see that perspective and what happened to them and how they survived and what they went through. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to learn that the kid is Coringus' son. Um, I, it's like, well, it I don't know, like, why is it that all the Dunyan we've met so far are somehow related?
There's
It's
only so many whale
a
mothers, I guess.
yeah, well, maybe, but it did make me wonder whether the reason that Coringa saved the kid, whether he saved it because it was his son, or just because he wanted to save, like, because that was like the rational thing to do. Um, is that like on one hand he seems like, like he seems like very Daniel, like in the sense that he's like very rational about everything. Um, but at the same time, he's also, it seems like he's gone a little bit mad, like he lost it somewhere in the dungeons. So I was wondering about his motivation for saving the child.
I think it mentions that he lost his sanity. He endured but lost his sanity or something to that effect. That he's and I think it's kind of a common thread in this book of what it does to you, like the effects that these events happen when these events happen to you and you survive, but you go in like the non-men. I mean, you live and you go insane after a while, but after a long while. But so yeah, we're not really sure. And Mimera seems to think that they should die. So she sees him with the eye, and she's like, "It came in. You're screwed anyway. So have at it. Like you're damned.
Just
So
do it.
you take care of it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do it.
As I read those chapters, like, it kind of seemed like they went mad just comprehending magic. Most of
Mm.
them just like froze in their spots and got burned to death. And so when he grabbed his kid, he seemed like he was kind of already somewhat crazy because he even talked about how it was like a detriment to him. He was the one that had a burden and he was the one that still survived, the one with a little baby. And he called it a burden. So he had to have taken on a burden for some reason because that's not typical of Dunyan choices.
Did
That
he?
and he's all scarred up. He's obviously walked the narrowest path, if not the shortest path. And the little boy even has what, three of his fingers cut off of one of his hands, so he's got one crab hand.
Oh yeah.
They've endured and, like you said, probably went mad for it.
I kind of thought he kept the boy because he wanted to continue the line, like keep the Dunyan going, and it was his chance to have um, another person with him to hopefully
He would
multiply. I guess.
he would have had to carry a whale mother too, though.
Yeah, I guess you can't have one without the other, right? But
Yeah, and that probably would have been a more rational decision to preserve a whale mother instead of a little boy.
true.
But yeah, as you said, it seemed that um, he realized pretty early on that the Junin were overmatched and overcome, and that despite all those like thousands of years that they worked to perfect the logos, um, in the end, it did nothing for them. Like, they were no match for the sorcerers, and he kind of realized that he has to. I don't know if like I don't know what exactly he's looking for. Like, is it some like other purpose, or are they trying to like? Does he think that like is it still the logos that he's after, but now he thinks that venturing into the world and finding Kellis, that's the way to obtain it, rather than isolating yourself in a monastery for thousands of years. I don't know. Like I wasn't. I'm not exactly sure about what his new goal is. Karangus's goal.
So, Katerina, I have a question for you because
Oh
Daniel
no.
knows the answers. Daniel knows the answers to this, I'm sure. But do you trust Mimira that she saw them through the eye and that they have to die? Do you believe that she saw them through the eye, or do you believe that she just wants them dead because she's angry?
What I understood from, I think I believe like she saw what she says she saw, but I also am not sure that what she saw is like the objective truth. Like it seems like something changed in Myanmar when she saw the whale mothers. And I think even like Karingas, he talks about it, like her like suddenly um, becoming full of this hatred that came out of nowhere. Um, so to me, it seems like something is controlling her, like something has taken over her emotions. Probably something connected to the eye, um, and maybe there is someone else who wants the Dunyan dead, and Maimar is just not able to tell that it's not coming from her head, it's coming from somewhere else. That's kind of how I interpreted um what the information that we have at this point.
I kind of thought that it had to do with the whale mothers, like you said, because I think she even makes a point to a comment about her mother being treated like a whale mother. Like Kellis used Esmanet as a whale mother, and he never cared for her. He just wanted her to bear children. So seeing the whale mothers, and then kind of saying this is what he thinks of my mother, and that kind of changed the way. So that's why I wonder what her motivations are. If she's out for revenge for all the Dunyan, or if she really sees them through the eye, and then, like you said, who knows what the eye is showing her? What's behind that, or if there's another something else behind the eye that's showing her what they want her to see.
sh- sh- a couple points. She also uh, reflected on how like she was terrible to Esmnet. All her kids aren't really there for her, so Esmnet was like alone, just like the whale mothers too. Not only used, but just like truly alone. And uh, oh, what was I gonna say?
I do understand like where she's coming from with regard to Esmenet. Like it is like we kind of knew that Esmenet was to some extent manipulated by Kellis, even though you could probably also argue that she did to some like she did kind of want to like she did desire to be in the place where she is now. Like the fact that she's like totally unhappy with her position, like that's another thing. But she did kind of want this, but also Kellis did make her to want this to some extent, I think. Um, but like Maimara didn't know this, so I get that like seeing the whale mothers kind of made her realize what Kellis is all about, and that she might have judged Esmena too harshly. but the way like the change she goes through um is pretty it's quite sudden, and the fact that like she immediately asked Kamian to kill the two Danyan, um that's that's quite unlike Maimara, I think. Like, and even Kamian thinks that that's very unlike her to be so cruel. But then at the end of the chapter, she changes her mind and she stops him. At least from that's what how I understood the ending of the chapter. So that's even more confusing.
Because she's stronger than a Camion, but she's still weak.
And I would expect a Kamian to not. He hates Callus so much because of what's happened. I was a little bit surprised he was so against killing them, because he's seen what they've done and he knows the danger they pose, at least in his eyes. So I was a little bit surprised he was so anti-killing them, or did he
Part of
just not
that
want to do it?
is the prophecy. Like,
Oh, okay.
the prophecy's always there, and is Kellis the true Anasarimber, or is any Anasarimber maybe the true Anasarimber? And going back to what the survivor's first question to Acamian, do you guys remember what that was?
The what?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The survivor's first question he asks. He says, "Tell me, has my father,
Found the absolute.
yeah, has my father achieved the absolute?" So that might be something to do with his motives. But really, who knows? Who knows what his motives are right now? He's kind of crazy.
Aren't they all? To some point.
And as far as like Katerina was saying, like you don't know whether to believe the judging eye or not, sort of. And it reminds me of the part where Sorwill's talking to Incorial later, and Corial's like explaining Yatwer and why Yatwer might not be right. Even like, what does he say? The no god sits outside of the outside and the inside.
Something like that.
So she's like blind to him. He posits the question like, what if Harwill's not your real dad? And he says, impossible. And he says, that's exactly what Yatwer thinks about the no god. That's impossible.
Yeah, but then with respect to the whale mothers, we are talking about something that has already happened. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Um,
it also talks about how they don't like the gods never seen the no god come to the earth. They just seen like the destruction it left, and they like seen all these crazy crying people like screaming at them, and they had like no clue why, because they thought the terror happened from something else, from just the men themselves. They only saw like the after effects of the no god, and then they're like, man, who was it? The humans who screwed this all up? And the humans are screaming, talking about a no god, and they're just like, you're crazy, that's impossible.
but then it would imply that the gods are or have been equally ignorant about the Danyin as they have been ignorant about the no god, which begs the question, why? What is the connection between the no god and the Danyin? Or just more in general, what makes the gods ignorant about certain events or certain people?
Good question.
Thank you.
There was something. Speaking of the absolute, on 224, the survivor says, "We must leave Ishwal." And it said, "Why? We must seek my father." Yes, but why the absolute has fled this place. Sort of the absolute is what exactly the absolute is, because if it fled, then
The perfect self-moving soul, whatever that is.
And I mean, all the Dunyin are dead. So if they were the ones closest to the absolute and they're gone, then so is the absolute, I guess.
where did it go?
And Akamian tells Smimara that, like, sure, she's seen the Dunyan and how evil they are, but Kellis is not a Dunyan anymore. He's something else now.
He has a high shrank diet, so it's affected him.
That's what they some people think now. Poor Proyas.
It's
Yeah.
kind of it's. I'm sorry, Katerina. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna mention that it seems strange to me that if shrank meat was so dangerous, or wouldn't it's like a weird because they've gone all this time without eating shrank meat, and then they decide, okay, we ran out of food. Let's feast on shrank, and it's like a shrank buffet all the time because there's so many of them. So it seems strange to me that Kellis would continue eating it if it is hurting him in some way or making him go mad because he knows he seems to know everything before or most things before they happen or so it's strange that he would choose to eat shrank meat. That's why I'm not convinced that's what's wrong with him. It seems too, I don't know, too unkellis like. But
He was mad before.
I mean, I don't know. Some people seem to think so, but he's been making pretty good progress being mad. He seems to have kind of taken it a step up, though. I think we can all agree. Especially in this book, he's done some things that um, I wouldn't have expected him to do before.
Yeah, but I think from his point of view, those things would still be considered rational. Like there's a reason why he did those things.
To to Proya, I don't know. It seems like it was a Daniel. Daniel's trying to not give us an expression. Um, it just seems like I mean, because he would dominate people. He would intimidate people. He would manipulate people. He would do all those things to reach his goal for a purpose. But it seems particularly cruel what he did to Proyas, like above and like more than just like a like an emotional or like a physical and emotional way to just like grind him down. That's really bad. You know what I mean? That sounded bad. I'm trying to
I
not.
mean,
Yeah, I'm trying.
why would cruelty stop Callus? Why would he care about that? Why would he care about being cruel? Like he's been responsible for the death and torture of thousands of people on this continent.
Well, I think even Saban was surprised that what he did to Proas. Even Saban's like, "Wow, he did that to you." Like, it seems it, Saban's reaction kind of it's like, okay, if it surprised Saban, then that's struck me as strange because if what's going to surprise you, Kellis, by now? I mean, if something he does something now that surprises you, then there's something to
Well,
that.
I think he kind of implies that he did it. Part of the reason why he did it was to throw Saban off. I mean, the way I think about it, it's kind of similar to what Sir was been doing with Sorwheel. Like she
Oh,
also
okay.
had it as her mission to make him hate her, which led her to do all those, like treat him really poorly, and then sleep with Moengas and maybe some other stuff. Um,
So is Kellis's goal to make Proyas hate him? Just like her goal was to make Sorwell hate them?
I mean, unless it's not, maybe not hate him, but definitely to lose his lose his devotion to Kellis. Like, I mean, up until this point, Proyas thought that Kellis could do no wrong, and I don't think he thinks that anymore. Or
It's just
he
from
certainly looks at Kellis differently.
it seems strange to do that to Proyas now because where Proyas started and where he is now is a huge difference from when Callus first met him to all he's done to influence Proyas. His Proyas was devoted. He drank the Kool-Aid. He was all the way in. To take that extra step seems really strange to do that. Like, but then again, Callus, he always seems to have a reason for everything. So,
Any reasons
lots of
come to
strange
mind
things.
why he would want to make Proyas hate him? Or at least cast away the blind belief that he's actually like a prophet?
I don't know. I mean,
We don't. I mean, we don't know. We kind of talked about last week, I think. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe a safeguard.
just the line about the shrank meat had me rethink everything because it was like the shrank meat has taken him, or so that's why it made me think back on all those events and say, well, it's I don't know, very peculiar, very strange. But
But I
that's
mean,
what we find.
I do agree with you, Steve, that the fact that Callus has also been eating the strength meat, as far as we know, anyway, that is suspicious. I would also think that if he knows that it has some side effects, he would probably avoid eating it, unless he doesn't care or unless those side effects are desirable.
Hmm. For someone so in control and so methodical, you'd think he wouldn't want to lose any kind of control or any kind of, um, you know, yeah. So it's really strange. But then again, it's Callus, so he wants you to think one thing and he's doing another thing. So who knows? This book always has me rethinking and wondering what Callus is up to, what he's really up to, because he always seems to be a few steps ahead.
I have a question I'm going to ask at the end, but other things need to happen first. It has to do with the shrink meat, though.
Hmm.
And it seems to make normal people maybe go. It's obvious it's having an effect on the army as a whole, but are the Dunyan beyond that? Were the non-men beyond that? Or did they eat shrink meat? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, the query affected them, right? So you would think they're not immune to things. There's things that affect them. So I
That's
guess it
like
could.
closer to cannibalism than anything else in the book so far, right? I guess there was actual cannibalism in the first series, maybe a little bit in this series where they just didn't talk about it much, but he's putting the ashes of his brothers on his tongue.
That's what the desert does to you.
Well, we don't know if it had. We don't know if the Kiri has the same effects on the non-man and normal people. We never. I don't think we ever saw Nilgikas eat the Kiri, as far as I remember.
Hmm.
And he was also mad at that time anyway. So
No, he was fine.
totally.
Perfectly normal behavior. So anyway, yeah. So
Oh, what about Akamian's dream at the very beginning, where he dreamed as Selmomus instead of uh,
Saswatha.
Saswatha?
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was pretty cool and interesting, as it reframed a lot of what I thought about the Selmomian or Kelmomian prophecy. Because I
How,
think the first time I read it, it seemed like the entire time Kalmomus is talking to Now Coyote, or like a vision of Now Coyote, but then now when we got to see the prophecy from his perspective, um we actually find out that he's talking to, well, he sees two people. He sees Gilgal, which is the god of war, right? And he sort of has, I mean, well, okay, he sees him coming like towards him, like riding on the, from on the sky, whatever. And then but then he sees someone who looks very, who's described very much like what Callus looks like. um
in the palm of his hand, right? I think it said Gilgaya opens the palm of his hand, and inside of it is basically Kellis.
yeah, and he's all very like shiny and blonde, and he says, Kelmomas. No, I don't actually know who says this, but someone says, "Behold, the son of 100 fathers. Behold, the end of the world." And yeah, I wasn't sure if it was
Probably Gilgail, probably.
maybe, but it was. I think it was in bold. Could have been. I don't know. For a moment, I thought maybe it was the no god. I don't know. That part was also very confusing. Um,
Bold so far has been left to like gods and Kellis, right?
I mean, could have also been Callus, I guess. Someone, but yeah, someone's telling Kelmomus that a another Anasarimber will return
for the end of the world,
at the end of the
or at
world.
the end of the world.
And I think it's more implied that it was Kellis because the way Akamian woke up from it, right?
Yeah,
He
maybe.
woke up like think knowing he saw Kellis in Gilgail's palm, and
Yes.
then Mimara
What is
wasn't having it.
so? Yeah. So like, what is Callus doing in Gilgal's palms, and why is he there like 2,000 years ago? And in is this like, is it actually like, is the vision real, or is it just the imagination of a dying person?
I'm gonna sound really paranoid when I say this, but with the perspective change on his dream, I thought it was Callus giving him dreams and manipulating his visions to make him think things.
I mean, I probably wouldn't be too surprised at this point. I've been suspicious of the dreams all along.
Hmm. You're no help, Daniel.
He's had the dreams for before he knew Kellis. They didn't change so much, and they haven't gotten as crazy. But then he also has like the dreams about being in Golgotha. So maybe some of them are manipulated. Maybe none of them are. Maybe he's a prophet of the past. Maybe he's the one real prophet.
Well, Callus did say that the role of the prophet was to communicate with, like, to communicate with the god, to like send information to the god from the inside. Um, but like right now, it seems that Akamian's more on the receiving end. So I have no idea what that means. Um, but the dreams the dreams he's had so far, did, like they're are what made him able to like go come to Ishwal. So I don't know. There's something about those dreams. Like they're not. I don't think they're just coincidence.
Oh, one last question about that chapter too. Memara basically says that she should be just as damned as everybody else, yet somehow she knows that she is saved. What do you think that's all about? How come she doesn't have to have the black grossness that she sees on everybody else when she deserves it? According to her, she deserves it.
Katerina.
I don't know.
Does
Um,
does that mean that the stain of damnation is not permanent? That some kind of great event could like outweigh the negative and save a soul? Is that possible in this world?
Hmm.
I
That kind of seems like what the non-men think that they can do, right? Most of them are erratic, but the 12, I think it said, that still semi have their heads together, seem to think that they could, like through a great action, they might escape damnation.
yeah, I didn't. I wasn't sure about what the non-men's intentions were either. Honestly, um, I don't know. I think maybe. Well, I think I said it before. I don't understand the rules of damnation. Like I sincerely I have no idea how it works. Um, I've not been able to discern any pattern. It seems like some people do bad things and they're fine, and then well, also we don't really know anyone who's like truly good. Maybe like we know like apparently Sarway's being damned, and she was probably one of the few like nice people. But then she also did a lot of like bad things for Kellis, so I don't know. I think if anything, it might just have to do with the fact that with the judging eye, like maybe because she has some connection to the gods, that's what's keeping her protected.
Hmm. That would kind of make sense to me that she thinks she's protected or that she's connected to them somehow. Um, and we do have, I think it was in the judging eye that we see her in a flashback. Is that in a vision? Is it the judging eye?
Well, what kind of flashback are you thinking of?
One of Kamian's visions. Didn't we see her, or didn't they name her in one of? I feel like her name was brought up at least in one of his visions.
I think it was. I
I think it was the judging eye.
can't remember exactly when.
I have no recollection of that. I'm sorry.
A
Someone
lot
that you
happens.
don't expect to say the name Amara says the name Amara.
I forget the context. I'll have to look back at my notes, but
Yeah, I could all do that too. Try to get extra prepared for the end of this book. Oh, there's a good quote in that first chapter too that said it was when the survivor was talking about like what had happened in Ishwal, and he says the shriekers chewed their own limbs in the end, suckled on the teat of their own life. So they're just down there, and they're so twisted that they just like started chewing their own blood. Might as well eat if you're gonna die. Eat one last time, even if it's yourself. And then there was one that said, where the Dunyan reached for infinity, the Shriekers embodied zero. When they were talking about the similarities of the Shriekers and the Dunyan.
Yeah, that was one that was the part where I also wasn't sure what they meant exactly. Like they were talking about something that's very much resembled like the neural network, but then like they kind of said, I don't know, like that's the basically the strength. They were kind of like people, but then they didn't have like a consciousness or like didn't have anything that would, I didn't really know. Like it was a bit obscure.
The Dunyan set out to conquer like the negative human traits that hold humans back, right? So they try to become perfect self-moving souls. So they get rid of any of the bad human traits. That's why they can do such atrocious things just in the name of progress. Because love doesn't like exist to them. So like feeling bad for cutting out all the women's tongues, they didn't seem to care. Deforming them and chaining them to the ground, that's just a means to an end. So in a sense, the survivor was just basically kind of saying he admired the strength because they had got rid of a lot of the negative human traits already. That they don't exist in the strength. So there are a lot of similarities, just achieved differently, kind of.
Yeah, but then I think he says also something about, I don't know if I have it in my notes. Um yeah, he talks about the cause. He says cause coursed through them in rills and tributaries and rivers without so much as touching the light of the soul. They were creatures of darkness, other darkness. No one sky dwelled within their skulls, not one thought. As much as they resembled the Danye, the Shriekers were actually their antithesis, a race honed to give perfect expression to the darkness that comes before. So it says like they don't have the strength, they don't think, like they don't really have, like their thoughts come out of nowhere, or like their motivations or like decisions to do something, like they don't think about it, they just do it.
Impulse based on love. It's all love to the shrink.
I guess that's one way to call it. One thing, like one thing that I also wrote down in this chapter is when the Kuya attack Ishwal, Coringus can see the, like it's kind of obvious from the way he describes it that he can see the mark. So he
The
also,
stain.
yeah, he's also potentially a sorcerer. He could become a sorcerer if he wanted to.
What did he call it? Residue? He could see the
Something.
residue.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Totally missed that. I didn't catch that at all.
It was just like one line, I think. Probably very easy to miss.
Thanks, Katerina.
No. It was just, there was a lot of other stuff that happened in this chapter. I noticed it, but I don't know. There's just some things I...
Lots more writing errors. Just wrong words. Meaning,
I didn't notice that, for
I
example.
think it was discussed that he didn't like have an editor for these last two books.
Really?
Nope. So this is raw R. Scott Baker we're reading.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild.
pretty comparable to the other books. I haven't really noticed any issues.
The worst one I saw, I think, was on page 237, and it said, "Where is your compunction?" when it's supposed to say compassion, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Where is your compunction?
No, I really haven't noticed. I noticed the mark, but not really noticed any misspelling.
I think
Yeah,
I
I
notice
does
it
say that.
more because like the words are like important. So I have to try to hang on the words. And when there's like a misspelling, I have to decide whether it's purposeful or not. Kind of like the italics. That was the word I wrote down that I couldn't remember what was. Do you guys notice the italics in these books ever?
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot. There are a lot of like highlighted. Yeah, it does say compaction in my Kindle. Wait, have
Wow.
I read this already?
It
Yeah,
Uh,
was, yeah,
I hope so.
it's what we're talking about today.
Sorry, I'm just because I'm reading the Kindle. I don't keep track of the page numbers.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
better on Kindle. Interesting. I didn't realize you didn't have an editor. That's wild. And Orbit didn't go through and edit it? That's weird.
They might have had like one small edit, I think. I don't know. I just know that for the most part, it was like pretty raw.
For being pretty raw, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed it so far. I don't really have any complaints.
What do you guys think the italics are for?
Emphasis?
Uh, Sometimes I think it's, well, I know that when Sammy talks sometimes, or when I think it's who's Sammy, sometimes that's in italics or um, thoughts. I thought when someone's thinking like thought bubbles, kind of like in.
A lot of times the italics are just one word in like a whole sentence or maybe 3 words in a paragraph. It's just strange. His italics are strange, and he uses them quite a bit. And same with bold print. A lot of authors don't like to have like yelling. He doesn't mind to have a god yelling once in a while or Kellis. Mini throats. Anytime mini throats talk, it's yelling.
Yeah. I mean, I've quite enjoyed that part of the writing. Like, I feel like it helps me to, tell apart like what's really important or like where I should like what yeah, like basically where he wants me what he wants to emphasize.
Mhm.
Um like it kind of helps me to like imagine what like diction of like maybe if like people have a conversation like what the diction would be of the person who's speaking. So I find like yeah he uses a lot, but I actually find it quite helpful.
Yeah, um, it is used a lot. So, like you said, Katerina, it's like for emphasis, but sometimes there's a lot of like a lot of italics, and it's not. It's hard to emphasize things so often. Like but it's so often. Sometimes it's like, what does this really mean, or what is this for? But yeah, I'm impressed. This is Raw Baker because no edits. Maybe his brother went through it.
This is him in the end, though, in his stride. End Baker, which would be, I guess, peak Baker.
Yeah.
The,
I
the,
like
the
sorry, go ahead.
darkness that come before, he obviously spent the most time writing. So it felt real fleshed out and nice. But then he kept writing and just got better and better, we have to assume.
I would assume.
We'll see. You guys have liked this book, though, right?
Yep, I'm definitely liking it more than the White Lug Warrior.
I think it's so. I think so far my favorites is the darkness, and then the judging eye, and this is a maybe third. I'm afraid to say it's moving up though, so I'm afraid to speak too soon. But it's if it keeps the same trajectory, it could take over number one for me.
Maybe that'll depend on how it's all concluded.
We'll see.
My favorite quote in this chapter was somewhere towards the end. where Coringa's he, when Akamian's getting ready to kill them, Coringa's talks to the kid and he's like, "Stimulate love and terror."
Oh.
I really like that part.
And then they look at him and he's like hunched over with his hands on his knees, just looking like a little sad kid.
Yeah, but
And I
I
think
also wonder. Sorry, I also wonder like how can he know how to stimulate love when he doesn't really have any idea of what love is.
He's Dunye.
Yeah, exactly.
what
He's never experienced it.
what does he say? The child is Dunyan, but by blood only, meaning he has no training. He's a little Kelmomus,
With the
Yeah.
crab hands.
a pure Dunyan Kelmomus.
That's pretty scary, put it that way.
Well, we don't know if he's also hearing voices.
Now, is Sorwell still Sorwell? Are we gonna rename him?
Ugh. I don't even want to go there. I have no idea. Well, he doesn't think he is 100% Sorwheel anymore. I
I was
kind of got
confused
the
there, yeah.
yeah, I kind of got the impression that he sort of embraced the fact that um, he now has someone else's memories in his head, and sometimes it's not him who's talking and who's looking around through his eyes.
So will we just call him non-Sorwell the rest of the book?
I guess I'm more curious about whether once the helmet is off, whether he'll go back to normal or whether that's a permanent state. If the helmet ever goes off, but
Yeah.
assuming it does, like
Sorwell
how is he going to be affected by it?
already went to hell. Like, is he? I don't know if he's coming back, or maybe he's coming back.
I don't know where the hell he went at the end of this chapter. That got so confusing and
I'm glad, yeah.
disturbing.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was really confused with that one.
Yeah, it's like all the naked, like rotting, semi dead non-men just crawling around. And then I don't know, like, do we know who the boat the boatman, was that what they call him? Do we know what or who that is?
I'd say
Is
no.
that an
He's the boatman. Just some crazy guy named the boatman that nobody wants to come across.
but is he like a non-man? Is like it seemed like he was, if that was him who was coming at the end,
With the pitchfork.
was he?
They
Was
said that there's something that had non-men head on every spike.
I don't know if he did that, but it seemed. But I wasn't sure. Like I wasn't sure if they were waiting for him or if they were like running away from him. Like it wasn't entirely clear if like he was the one they were looking for or if they didn't want to be there when he got there.
I assume they were running because I thought they said like the boatman comes, run, and then they're looking for his Oineral's dad.
Yeah, that's also. I guess we're going to find out why. I don't know. Maybe his dad has something that or Oineral needs, but what would that be? I have no idea.
we find out there's like a civil war breaking out under the mountain currently, and that for some reason Oinerall needs Sorwil because of Yatwer, probably, to hide behind him when he confronts his father, he said. He's going to have to hide behind Yatwer when he confronts his father.
Yeah, because he thinks that Sorwheel is not destined to die in Esterbenth. Kind of implying he's like fated. Like his fate is to die somewhere else.
Riding his coattails, yeah. There's no good enough reason for Yatwer to let him die down there. So he's just going to stay right behind him and ride it out. Maybe.
I don't know how that works exactly.
Then we find out what that oil was that the non-men king was like dousing himself with. That's pretty grotesque.
Yeah, it was just ew. I don't even want to think about what they do to the poor Mwama. Or like what they do before they're finished with them and turn them into oil. Oh gosh.
It talked about how the mama used to like cheer on when they would sing, like in the olden days, how they thought they were like gods because they could sing so good. But song has left the mountain.
What was the name of the mountain? Was it what was the name for the mountain, right?
The Weeping Mountain?
Weeping
Yep,
Mountain.
Isterbint, the Weeping Mountain, and not because it makes sounds like they originally thought, but because it makes sounds once you go lower and lower and lower and lower. It makes all the sounds.
So the sounds that they heard when they were outside the mountain, was that just the crazy non-man weeping or like wailing and running around, or is that some geological phenomenon? And then there's also like the basement full of screaming crazy non-man.
I don't know. It seemed like the further down you got, the more ghoulish they got. They call them ghouls a lot, but once you're down in the lower levels where they're like holding their broken knees, wondering why it's not working, it. Can you guys hear that?
Is it the
Not
Shrink
really.
attacking or?
Good. It's saw blades right outside somewhere. But yeah, they all seemed very much more ghoul-like, more erratic.
Yeah, I think they kind of explain that basically most of the non-men, when they lose it, they just wander off into like the halls further below and just sort of survive there, but they're kind of like don't really have an idea of like who they are and why they're there. And it's mostly like the very like base instincts that allow them to survive, but they're not really living anymore. They're just shells, I guess.
And it's kind of like when they were in the bottom of Minurocus, how they described like them getting closer to hell, kind of. The further down you go, like the closer to the the bottom you are. And in a previous book, it kind of said that's why the non-men even have been building down, because they're damned, so they're trying to like get close to hell so they can hide from damnation. They can still be alive, but they can just be so close that they don't get noticed, kind of.
But is like the hell like is like literally underground? I thought it was more like metaphorical.
Hmm.
There's a reason they're digging down to the bottom, and maybe also a reason they found the white at the bottom of Minyorokis, if that's the right word. The non-men white.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. I thought the outside was kind of like not really not really like like outside, but just on like a different plane of existence or something like that. Like it wasn't literally like above and below. I don't know.
And you're probably right, but it's metaphorical like it is in this world, right? It still plays its part in our religions.
Yeah.
Hell is underground, heaven is in the sky.
There was a small section on page 248 where Callus comes to bring his daughter some kind of rinse her skin and bring her food and water. And she would tell him, hate had not come easy. His love for me was. And then he tells her, so is this the end, little witch? Are you ready to forget? Forget, what do you mean? Forget that you are my daughter. I don't know if there's another. What's Callus up to?
It's like by that point, Serway had like thought she had exhausted her resources and kind of like eluded the fact that they were all going to die there. And then her portion of her dad, whether it was her dad or not, really told her that the Dunyan just won't give up like that. That's one blocked path, one minor blocked path.
Hmm.
So it was like her hope. Her hope is her dad.
It
Or
sounds like
maybe
they have plans for her and Moingus.
bad
So,
plans.
yeah.
Yeah. To be loved and what did they say? Yeah,
A
to be
portion.
loved and then murdered. Um yeah, I wasn't I mean it seemed like she was kind of like she definitely managed to throw the non-men off balance, but I wasn't sure if it didn't. I don't know. It was kind of uncertain whether she was like succeeding in. Well, I don't know exactly what her goal is, but I guess she probably wants to get out of the cell where she's now, and I don't know if like she definitely called their attention, but it seemed like I wonder if that might just turn against her, like her luck against her. That before she just had to escape from one non-man, but now she like everyone wants her and everyone is after her. So I kind of wonder if she might have put herself in an even more dangerous position.
Hmm.
The torturer, like after she's singing and reminding her of his dead wife, he basically says, I know what you are and I know what you're going to try to do. So, do the non-men have some captured Dunyanes from Ishwal? Or how do the non-men know the Dunyane? Did you guys think about
Yeah.
that?
Well, we know that some of the non-men have been in contact with the consult.
Hmm.
So I would just assume that that's who they found out about the Dunyan from?
Well, Akamian also said that it was the non-men that attacked Ishwal. They were the singers. So
Yeah,
they
right.
definitely slaughtered a bunch of them. They could have taken some prisoners,
Yeah,
or
I hadn't thought of it. Yeah, that's possible, I guess.
somehow
But then,
he knows the tactics that she's going to try to employ, and he can see through them at least to some degree that Nair did.
yeah, and I mean, it also like they also know about Callus, and they know what he has achieved over the past 2 decades, and they were observing him during the Holy War. So even if like that was their only source of information, like they would still know a lot about how the Danyan operate based on their experience with Callus. Um, but yeah, one of the things that I I found it interesting, or whatever, from the little bits from the little bits we get with Surwa, is that she in fact confirms that Kellis asked her to um antagonize Sorwheel, which is something that Sorwheel eventually figure out himself. But I'm not too keen to trust Sorwheel's judgment necessarily. So I was happy that this was confirmed also by Sirwa.
This is why it's curious to me why Sorwheel would be this chosen person, because he's so, I don't know, he's very,
Helpless,
yeah, he's not very,
clueless.
yeah, yeah, exactly. He's a strange choice. I guess that makes him easier to manipulate, but if you can manipulate him, then everyone else can too, and it's kind of a dangerous combination because he doesn't seem to have a very strong will.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You're right. You're totally right. I would not want to be Sorwheel's ally because he's literally like he keeps changing his mind about everything like every like 5 seconds. He's like, I love Serwa, and then I hate Serwa, but okay, well I kind of hate her, but I still love her. And then he wants to kill, like he admires the Aspect Emperor, and then like he kills his dad, so like he wants to kill the Aspect Emperor. And then he sees this right. He's like, oh well, I guess the Aspect Emperor is right, so I should probably like be on his side. And then he has this whole episode with Serwa, so he like hates him again, and it's like back and forth. Like he's been back and forth like 5 times already. Um, but yeah, I guess as you said, he doesn't have much of a will or reason or conviction on his own. So he that's what probably makes him like easier to manipulate and to use. Like it would be probably more difficult to manipulate someone who has like who's like strongly convinced about like what is right and like what is good and what should be done, well, like the console, or just
Pro, yes.
I think it
yeah.
was interesting that like he didn't worship Yatwer at all, and yet he was chosen. And she has a lot of pawns out in the world. Maybe it's her. Up to three pawns, or maybe four, right? She got the Nanafari lady, and the White Luck Warrior, Sorwheel, maybe the Judging Eye. So she's in all the places. And where are all the other gods?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, we saw a little bit of Gilgal in the Kamian chapter, but apart from that, yeah, well, maybe a Jockey, but a Jockey could all. I mean, I'm not entirely. Well, I don't know. We talked about last time. I don't really know what like a Jokley's role in this is, or if he's in it, if he's a player at all. But Kelmomas at least seems to think so. But yeah, considering there's supposed to be 100 gods, we've seen very few of them.
I guess we'll see. See when we get there.
Mhm.
And then the part where Sorwill is, like you're saying, confused, and he's like thinking prophets who are not prophets but were saviors all the same, gods who ruled as blindly as kings. He doesn't know how the world works anymore.
But that's kind of what I love about him, the fact that he's so clueless.
It's us when we were 17, probably.
And I'm probably still that now. I'm learning new things every day. Things I thought worked a certain way, I figure out they don't. Anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah, it does make, I don't know, it makes him kind of relatable, I think. Um, like he just seems like the closest to maybe someone would react, like a normal person would react if you put them in these like crazy situation with like the gods fighting with gods and emperors and prophets and
Mm.
winged aliens fighting one another, and you ask him to choose a faction.
It's true. Kind of not an easy, not an easy position to be in, especially what he's been through too.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I guess he's not like meant to be someone he's not admirable, like he's not someone like as we talked about, like he doesn't have like a moral code necessarily. He doesn't have something that he believes in, but somehow he seems to kind of figure out like the approximately the right thing that he should do, I think. Like he seems like he's sort of decided that he wants to help Serwa and Moangas. He kind of wants to save the world. Like when he finds out that the aspect emperor could be the savior, like it seems like he can get past the hatred he has for him because he killed his father. Maybe, I don't know. He's still figuring things out, but I think that's kind of what makes him relatable.
Even in those moments, he thinks he's cursed to kill the savior. It's like, oh man, he's the savior, and now I'm cursed to kill him. So he's
Yeah.
either cursed to kill the person he hates who killed his father, or the person who's going to save the world.
That's it's a terrible dilemma.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand why he's like feeling like overwhelmed and just exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else from chapter 8?
Mm, I think not. We did talk about the boatman.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like Sorwil gets sprayed with blood at the end.
Yeah.
That was. I hope it's not his blood.
I think the guy grabs him and starts tugging him after that. So he's either pulling a dying body or he might still be alive. But
Yeah, I hope he still has like all legs and hands and his head attached to his body.
I assume all of those slinking ghouls behind them don't, though.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably whose blood that was. But it was a little bit. I think I had to read it at least twice. It was the ending of the chapter was pretty confusing. I thought.
Yeah, something made me think like the walls like smashed them together or something. Made me think there were moving walls, but I don't know if there was moving walls or what made the blood smash. The boatman, I assume for sure,
If
but
I just assumed that there would be a boat when they mentioned the boatman for the first time. I just assumed that they would be looking for a boat and like maybe a man who like carries them over or something. But I guess no.
Danny, you said something earlier about bold text, and
yeah,
I was going to mention. I liked the little speech that Kellis gives at the end, because we hadn't seen that for a while. Like in the first series, he does that a lot. He kind of rallies the troops and gets everyone, excited and rah rah, let's go on a holy war kind of thing. But I don't remember it being in bold before, but it's bold here.
maybe the time
Interesting.
he says from now on we eat the shrink. I think that might have been in bold too. His last big speech.
Hmm.
Is it in yeah, I don't know if I noticed it or not.
It's hard to see, but
Yeah. I see. Yeah. Hmm.
And
Interesting.
everyone says it seems like when he's talking, he's like casting magic. The light's coming out of his eyes like he's doing some kind of magic, and everyone can hear him as if he's speaking directly to them, like it's a whisper.
He's broadcasting.
mm-hmm.
It's somewhat similar to what his dad did, only that was in dreams. Like everyone who went to sleep had the dream.
Right. Yeah. I I don't know. Like I didn't. There like that's the part where Proyas mentions that, like he just starts thinking about like Kellis being affected by the meat, and I didn't really see it. Like I didn't understand what it was, like what Proyas thought was different about Kellis. Because like to me that just seems like this normal. That's just Kellis's things. Like he gives these like grandiose speeches and he makes everyone like um super like devoted. So I wasn't sure like if like there was actually something happening to Callus or if it was just because this was like the first time that Proyas he witnesses one of these speeches while like and he knows that
It's not the prophet, it's the
yeah like he doesn't he like this is the first time that he's witnessing one of these speeches not as a believer but as like just an outside witness,
Hmm.
like someone who doesn't it just has a different effect on him because of the things he knows now and because of like how hard Kel's been trying to make him not believe in Callus. So I was wondering if that was the reason why he thought something was wrong with Callus, or if there is actually something like wrong with Callus.
if it's his own delusion or if Kellis is delusional now. He's
Yeah,
also eating the meat. How is someone who's eating the meat going to judge someone else who's eating the meat?
And Saban doesn't miss a chance to take a dig at Proyas there, right? He's not going to take that. He's not going to miss that opportunity to kind of poke at Proyas a little bit.
Yeah. But overall, this I don't know. In this chapter, I feel like we didn't we didn't necessarily learn anything new.
Hmm.
Like we were sort of most of it was just regurgitating what we were already established in the previous Proyas chapter. But yeah, so once
One thing, we
uses
learned
every
one thing.
okay.
The
What
ho-
did we learn?
the Horde will defend Dagliash
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because they have nowhere else to go.
because yeah, they're getting to the what they call the knife, basically a part where the river is too big. And then when Kellis is flying them over, they can see like armored shrink at the wall, like walking along the walls. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
so up to this point, the Horde has only been ever receding. Now we know that there will be at least one normal pitched battle on in a crumbling castle.
so the strength that are already there, were they sent there in advance by the consult, or is this some sort of envoy, like an avant-garde from like the horde that we've been following all along?
I don't know. Maybe it's like humanity. The closer you get to like the epicenter, the more kind of civilized people are.
Well, not the
If
people. The
if
strength maybe, but not the people.
Yeah.
yeah, well, just like people. Like if you go to really foreign parts of the world, third world countries, we call them, that they're still living in the past to us, but it's not the past to them. Maybe some shrink can't even talk. Maybe some shrink have a language. Maybe they have a religion. Just depends on how close you get to the center.
Hmm.
Maybe there's
Interesting.
a center of civilization for the shrink. And then there's also the people who are too far away to be affected by that. Wild shrink. Or maybe all shrink are wild. Only the consult controls some of them. The shrink, I think they were called. We'll see. Who knows? We just
Yeah.
know that Dagliash will be a battle now.
Yeah.
And Kellis
And
has a plan. And Proyas wants to take advantage and use that to his benefit. And Kellis wasn't having it. Instead, he gave it to Sabon. Poor Proyas.
yeah, well, I guess I understand why Kellis doesn't want Proas to basically kill himself by launching an attack on Dagliash. Like he's
But
worked pretty hard to turn Proas to whatever he is now, to lose it immediately afterwards.
and did you guys get what the plan of attack was? Kellis's plan to destroy Dagliash, and why Proyas thought it was such a good plan, and why he wanted to be the one who reaped the rewards. It has to do with the stage.
Not really. I mean, they do describe it, but I think I sort of just glossed over it.
Yeah, I didn't catch you there.
Please explain.
Well, there's like a river right there that the shrink can't cross. So the plan is to turn Dagliash into a furnace and just shovel the shrink into Dagliash along the river. So the Great Ordeal will just push the shrink along the river into Dagliash, and Kellis was gonna somehow transport the stage there with a bunch of mages and just burn the whole thing and just turn it into a furnace for the Shrink.
Barbecue Shrink. They're gonna have a hoedown after. Some
So
barbecue.
they think they're going to some place that they can seek refuge, but really, Kellis and all of the mages will be there.
But the Shrink are there now at Dekliash, aren't they?
This is true.
So that complicates things a little bit.
Maybe. Kellis knows. He's not even looking at him. He's just like looking out over everything else and just flying all the people over. He already knows everything that's down there and everything
Yeah.
that everyone's going to say.
I just find the image of Kellis flying a raft in the air. It's just pretty funny. Um
Maybe Kellis is the boatman and the boatman comes.
yeah, I was thinking something similar. Like, like 20 years of conquest and domination, and then you just end up as a ferryman
All he had
for
to do was attach a horse to the front of it, and he could have called it a non-man carriage.
but I guess I understand now why you need the flying carriage. It makes sense to me. I think I finally got it. I think you might not need the horse. Like, the horse still seems redundant.
I guess it's more like the the visual. You want to make a grand entrance.
Non-men are all about that grand entrance and the spectacle. Judging by the grease on the skin and the writing all over all the walls and the writing inside of the writing, and Nilgicus's demise. We got some history of Nilgicus too, right? He was leading and then he went crazy, and we found out that Oinaral was his book and then basically betrayed him.
Lots of people go crazy in this series, huh?
Yeah, I will say I was a little bit disappointed when they said that there were only 12
Sane.
sane non-men. I was expecting a little bit more of Ishtarabin,
Hmm.
but still,
And
like,
they're all going to Minurocus, which how long are they going to be sane if they go there? There's a non-men white that's waiting for them.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But the what's his name? Oinarl, is that his name? He
Yeah,
seems like,
Lastborn. We'll just call him Lastborn. That's
yeah, the
easy.
last born. He seems like a nice guy. Like, he seems to mean well. Whether he actually does, I guess we'll find out. But I'm kind of happy for Sorwheel to have someone to guide him. Although he also kind of seems to be using him, so I don't know. I guess it's a double-edged sword. We'll see.
He's probably the least damned non-men, the last to be born.
Yeah, but I guess because he didn't do anything.
He just suffered all the consequences, and he's the
Yeah.
only one that remembers. No one else even remembers what they did. They're on the team of the people who like took away their wives and kids, but they just, who knows?
And 10 and 11 were pretty short. So, but did anything stand out to you guys?
Well, Kalmoma seems to continue in his spiraling. He seems pretty obsessed. He's pretty obsessed with the Nerendar, and just like he seems almost certain, like he seems certain that Jokely's playing some game with him, which, as we talked about, might or might not be true.
Maybe it's Yatwer. There's also the part where he like loses him for a second. It's like the first time he lost him, and then he realizes that he went to like retrieve the apple that was gonna fall out of the basket.
Hmm.
So he like sees firsthand the white luck or something like it.
Yeah, but apart from that, I don't remember. I don't think anything happened with Kelmomas.
He still thinks
That
that the Padre Jaw's like on his side. He's it's a good thing for him.
Yeah, and he also, yeah, I think the Narendar is like he really seems to have gotten under his skin, because even like being around Esmenet is kind of like he doesn't find the peace around Esmenet that he used to. Like he's always thinking about whether Theliopa is going to tell her, or whether the White Warrior is going to do something to Esmenet. So he's really on the edge. Kilmomas.
Yeah.
And then Esmenet.
She's
Yes,
just
she
thinking
also
about
just
how lucky she is that Maithnet's dead, and then she also might have killed the last. She thinks she killed the last Ishwarim, so now they're all praising her and thinking about what a good empress she is again. She's starting to drink her own Kool-Aid again, maybe.
a little bit. But I also thought it seems like she finally is in a place where she's accepted that being an empress is not about being beloved,
Hmm.
or having control over everything. It's like I think she just accepted that she like kind of has to go with the flow and do with what she has. So it kind of seemed like she was in a good place for a change.
Yeah. It was a change.
But also she doesn't know that she thinks that Mepha is dead. She doesn't know that Yador has brought him back. So I think
Whoops.
she might be in a very different mood in the next chapter. We find her. But apart from that, yeah, I think those last two chapters were pretty short, and I feel like all these four chapters that we read this week, they were more about like setting up
Hmm.
things for the end of the book. Like I feel like big things were going to happen very soon. So this seemed like it was like a bit of a respite before all hell breaks loose.
Well, it sounds like if Daniel can be trusted, it sounds like the next two chapters are going to be very eventful.
I'd say most of the next chapters of the series are going to be more eventful than not. Going to have more eventful chapters from now on, probably.
Well, that's good to
I'd say
hear.
this book kind of started the more eventful chapters than not eventful chapters, but
I'm just happy we're out of the woods.
there
Like
was just
I'm very content with people just like sitting in rooms and thinking and not doing anything. Like it's so much more enjoyable than just people walking through forests
Then the
on and
mop.
on and on.
there was a quote by Esmet, and she's like thinking, and she's looking out over her city. She could indulge the fancy, the grandest of all the grand conceits, the tale of the hero, the soul that somehow ricks free of the thousand hooks of circumstance, that somehow hangs above the fray, ruling without being ruled. So she's thinking that she can, but there's probably invisible hooks. There's always some hooks. I haven't found one person in this book who's not hooked somehow.
Maybe Callus,
Hmm?
He's
perhaps.
hooked. He's hooked to the absolute. Like he's grasping for something, and that's a hook. So
Well, okay, but if that's the hook, then I guess um what is the opposite of not having any goals or aspirations? I guess in Relatus would be the most hookless character, if that's how you choose to think about it.
rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yeah, Kellis, I feel like is on a lot of hooks. He's like walking a perfect line right now, kind of just like the White Luck Warrior. Like I don't know if he wants to do all the things he's doing. He didn't seem that into pro yes.
I don't think that's how he thinks about those kind of things.
This is true. But he's doing it for some reason. So there's some kind of goal, some kind of desire he has, some kind of ends he's trying to achieve. But if he's being pulled that way or not, who knows?
Yeah, I hope that we will find out eventually. It would be nice after 7 books.
I think I have an idea for a drinking game. Every time Daniel says, "Who knows?" we have to take a drink.
I don't know. This podcast would be a lot different if we did that.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
just
yeah,
I'll just switch it up. I'll say we don't know.
yeah,
None of us knows.
yeah. It's funny. Well, awesome. Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think a lot of kind of setting up for later. Not a lot happens, but not. Well, I think it's. We almost need a break from the chapters we read last time, just to kind of give us a little breather. So it's. I can appreciate that in a way that it can't be, full blasts all the time. That's to give us a break.
Now we have Acamian thinking that he needs to catch up to the
Great Ordeal.
Great Ordeal, and Sorwell is about to meet something crazy. Who knows exactly what, but whatever he's been running towards, he's about to maybe get there unless he's dead already.
As soon as they said we have to catch up with the Great Ordeal, I thought more traveling.
Yeah.
They're close. They're really close now, though. SMNet seems to be in a middle spot. Maybe nothing too exciting will happen to her, or maybe something will. But everyone else seems to be on like the precipice of something crazy. I guess Acamian not so much. But they will be walking with some Dunyan now. Maybe that'll make it more interesting. There's going to be 2 Dunyan walking too.
Well, maybe
I
not
think
too
that might
long.
be fun. I
We'll see
think
how long
those
that
that
lasts.
might I think it might lead to some fun interactions.
Well, cool. So that was 8 through 11, and then next week we'll be doing chapters 12 and 13. I think it's like 80 pages, something like that. So not too long, but it sounds like they're very eventful.
I think it was 92 pages, and
It's
that
like
what we decided?
80,
82?
89, 80, almost 90. Yeah,
Just
under
the
100.
next two chapters.
Yeah, just the next
Good
two.
stuff. That's about what we read today. So we'll have an hour and a half.
I get the feeling even if we had 20 pages to read, we'd find a way to make it an hour and a half.
I think we've done that before. It seems like. I know
believe we have.
I took very little notes one week and we still talked for an hour and a half.
There's always something to talk about. So cool. So I guess we could do outros if you guys want to. I think we could probably just say if you want to contact any of us, pagechewing.com is the best place to participate. We have threads there with all the different podcasts. We have links to all the different YouTube videos and podcasts. You can download the podcast, listen to it there, interact with us, tag us if you want to get our attention. We'll try to keep up.
We might even reply. Yeah.
Well, Katerina might reply. I'll reply. No, I'm kidding. You're really good about replying.
Not really, but I try.
I should be better. By the time people ask a question, we're multiple chapters ahead, sometimes books ahead. So going back is confusing.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with everything and what happened when, and not to spoil things. And that's why I'm so impressed with the way that you were able to know where we are and not spoil anything. It's pretty. I mean, I don't think if you have spoiled anything for us, I haven't noticed. So, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I just try to keep it recent. Keep the stuff we're reading as recent as I can, so it's separate from old memories.
Nice.
Kind of like a non-men.
Just don't go crazy on us.
Become an erratic by the end of the book. When my two lines finally converge.
Well, then we can be your book by the time we finish.
We'll see.
Okay, so we'll see everyone next week for 12 and 13. And until then, everyone have a great day. Thanks for listening. Let us know if you're reading along with us, because I know some people are, but it always surprises me that people do that. But it's awesome. It's great. So just comment down below and find us on the forums. So until next week.